Black is beautiful, period.
It's time to exhale and be motivated. And it's Blue Couch. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, to all of you Annie's crew. Welcome back to the Annie's Blue Couch. I am so happy that all of you have taken the time to sit down with me today. Now, before we get into today's conversation, I want to remind you to like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and please do me a huge favor and share this video with at least 2 of your friends. For today's conversation, we are continuing the discussion with my children on how they have been impacted by what is happening today as it pertains to the topic of Black Lives Matter. Our world is divided on so many fronts right now. There's so many questions surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. Some people are taking it seriously, others are not. Then we get slammed with the video of George Floyd murdered in broad daylight at the knee of another man who seemed to think Mr. Floyd's pleas to breathe was not worthy of a response. And for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, thought it was okay to play God. I had a surge of varying emotions when I watched the different clips that began to surface. I went from shock to anger to rage to extreme sadness. I have never in my entire life watched anything more horrifying, knowing it was not a movie. This was real life. I prayed, I cried, I yelled at people, I even screamed at God. I cried some more, I prayed even harder. And I realized that as vile and as inhumane and as disgusting as the death of Mr. Floyd was to watch, it was, dare I say, necessary for the kind of awakening I see happening around me. This generation talks a lot about being woke. The death of George Floyd has America woke. And as I watched different points of views discussed in various interviews, videos, news broadcasts, etc., I realized that there weren't too many discussions with children, even though I know those discussions had to be taking place. I've been talking to my own children about what is happening and how they are being impacted emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and even physically. Because this kind of a conversation can make you literally sick to your stomach. You've watched me talk to my 6-year-old. If you haven't seen that video, please check the link down below. And you've also watched me talk to my 12-year-old son. That video, the link is also down below. Without further ado, let's welcome Allie to Annie's Blue Couch.
Hi everyone. Hi Mom.
Hey girl.
Hey.
I wanted you to come to talk on Annie's Blue Couch about this topic of racism. There's so much going on. You hear Daddy and I talking, yelling sometimes about it.
Sometimes.
Because we're so passionate about what's happening, about how we feel about what's happening, how it's impacting us. But I know that it's definitely impacting you as well. And I want this to be a conversation where Annie's crew can learn from the perspective of a teenager. Here's an opportunity to kind of engage with us and to see how this conversation pans out. Before all of this happened, did we talk about racism?
No.
No.
And the police, like race and the police, because like what to do when a police officer comes.
Yeah, and again, is that a conversation we've ever had? No. And in a lot of what I'm seeing, there are people that are having these legit conversations in their Black homes about what to do when you encounter a police officer. we've never had those conversations. And I think that's why the situation of George Floyd, as horrific as it was so necessary, because you can grow up somewhat sheltered or protected from that kind of a situation and not realize that it's real and it's happening in other places. Other black men, black women are being attacked. They're being literally murdered in the streets simply because of the color of their skin. And while we're on the topic of police officers, I said this to your brother, and I'm going to say it to you. The most important thing when you encounter a police officer, in that moment, as much as you and I know that we are just as important, we are just as special, we are just as beautiful, we are just as deserving of staying alive as anyone else, the reality is, because of your skin color, you can encounter a police officer who, just by seeing the color of your skin, says,
"You're not as good as me."
Right. And take advantage of that. So in that moment, it's not the time to scream Black Lives Matter. In that moment, it's the time to be respectful. It's the time to answer the question. Make sure you show your hands. Make sure you verbalize everything. Narrate everything that you're doing. If you get pulled over when you start driving, a white police officer pulls you over and you don't even know why you're pulled over, and they say, I need your license, show me your license and registration. Now is not the time to have that discussion, to come across as you don't have the right to pull me over. No, sure. Officer, I'm going to go into my pocketbook right now. My wallet is green. I'm going to pull out my green wallet. Is that okay? Get permission. Don't do anything without their permission. Okay. You get your wallet. You give them what they need to give. Keep your hands visible. Don't make sudden movements. Be super intentional about getting home. Once you get home, any rights that were violated, your dad and I, we will discuss what we need to discuss. We'll take it to whatever level we need to take it to. But in that moment, just keep thinking, I got to get home. Okay. And do what you're told. Answer the questions that you're asked, and ask permission to do anything before doing it. I don't know how you all feel about that response, but leave a comment down below. What are you telling your children to do when they encounter a police officer? Are you telling them at that point to speak up and, express their rights? Or are you telling them to get home?
Earlier today, I was actually looking up on my phone, topics and stuff for, this racism thing, because I know about racism, but I've never experienced it myself, and I needed some questions. So I started off with looking up what racism really means, and basically it was saying that racism is discrimination directed against one certain race because it's based on the belief that your own race is superior than that race. And I'm like, what does that really mean?
It's absolutely ridiculous, because we all know that God created us all. And when he created us, he didn't say, oh, these people are going to be better and these people are going to be worse. These people are going to be superior. These people are going to be inferior. White people are going to rule over black people and black people are going to be slaves. That's not how humanity came about. I know that was not God's intention when he created all of us, every color, every race, every ethnicity, every hair texture, everything. It was supposed to make this earth beautiful. And the fact that some people think that they're better, it's really like a mental blockage of some sort.
So how do you think we could get rid of this mental blockage?
I think that we have to be honest. That's the first thing. To be honest about how you feel, to be honest about why you feel that way, to ask yourself some of those difficult questions, as to your own perspective on a particular race. Questions or like, would you marry a black man or would you marry a white man? You can't get married until you're like 50. I'm playing with you. But that's a legit question. Would you marry a white man?
I don't think I should say I wouldn't marry a white person.
Okay.
But like when, like say, you know, dating websites, right? Like say I was using one, I would, I don't
Say
know,
you
right?
were
How's
using
it right, left? Okay. I would X out the white person and say it's a black person just based off of physical attraction.
Okay.
I find like black men more attractive than white people. White
men,
but like,
right.
But like if like I met someone, like we were in school or at work or something, like when I'm older, and like we just had a vibe,
then it's cool. You're not like against it, but you're kind of inclined to a certain thing.
Yeah.
That's a valid response. But questions like that, as simple or as deep that you might think that question is, it's important for us to ask those questions and to really look deep and think, do I not want to be with a certain person because I think I'm better than them? Is it just a color preference? I really like blue, but I'm not so into red, but it's not like I'm against red. Like, is it that kind of a decision? Or is it something deep down that somehow psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, you've told yourself, I can't, right. I can't be with a white person because really you can fall in love with a white man. White people fall in love with black people all the time. Black people fall in love with white people all the time. Comment down below. What do you feel about that? You know, how do you feel about interracial love, interracial relationships? So I don't think it's bad. I'm not telling you should, just to prove you're not racist, fall in love with a white person. But to not close yourself off to that because there's something happening mentally, psychologically, whatever, that's telling you that that's not a good situation. It could be a wonderful situation. Okay, what's your next question?
Okay, so when we encounter racist people in general, not just the police, what are we supposed to do? Like what you just said, are we supposed to speak up or are we supposed to stay quiet because we can risk getting like they can end up calling the police or something, and because they're white and we are black, we can end up getting killed for being violent or something?
Every situation is case by case, right? A case by case situation. I don't want you to ever feel that because you are black and because you are experiencing any level of racism in a particular moment that you cannot speak up. But I just want you to use wisdom, right? And make sure that when you speak up articulately, you speak up respectfully. If someone is being disrespectful to you for whatever reason, and you come at them, you mirror their behavior and do exactly what they're doing, then you're escalating the situation. Forget black or white. You're escalating the situation. So in these situations where you can pick up, oh, this person thinks I'm not valuable, that's why they're talking to me like that. You can remove yourself from the situation if that, like, it's not always worth a fight. But in some cases you need to, because guess what? Rosa Parks, and she wasn't the first person that said, I'm not going to get off of this bus. There were many black women who said, no, I'm not moving. I'm tired too. I've worked hard too. And I'm not going to go to the back of the bus. So at some point in time, someone has to stand up and someone has to say, no, this is not okay. Do not tit for tat. Don't return evil for evil. Someone calls you a black such and such. You don't call them a white such and such. You tell them that's not who I am. Please do not speak to me that way. That kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Do you have any other questions?
Have you or someone you know experienced racism?
Me personally, I feel like because of this situation, I have recalled situations, especially in the workplace, where certain comments were made. I really, truthfully didn't see it that way in the moment. But recalling it now, I'm like, was that said because I was black? Did they say no to me for what I was asking because I was black? What does it mean that you would be great at this position because there's a demographic that we're not catering to? Oh, you think I would be good at this because I'm black? Because there are no black people in this position. So this kind of, as I recall, I think about situations where I've experienced certain comments. Your dad, as a black man, he's certainly experienced being pulled over for absolutely no reason. Your dad was, and you know what, it's crazy because in the moment you don't realize because you're caught so off guard by it. Daddy told me that one time he had just gotten food from a restaurant. And when he left the restaurant, getting into his car, he got into the car and he drove, got maybe like to the corner or around the corner, whatever. And a police van pulled him over. He had to get out of the car. They patted him down. You're not going to believe this. They actually pulled Daddy's pants and looked in his pants. I don't think that that's okay. When this happens to you as a black man, repeatedly, you think that it's normal. And you just, that's what they do. When it was all said and done, the police officer said to him that that particular restaurant that he was at was known for drugs. Did Daddy have drugs? No. Has he ever done drugs? No. They assumed because he was black. And at the time he had dreads, which is like, you real black if you got dreads, and that was an unnecessary experience. I don't know how many of you have had something like that happen, or your son, your husband, your boyfriend, whoever, your friend that has experienced something like that. It is, I can only imagine, it's violating.
Wouldn't that be considered sexual assault?
It wasn't a sexual thing, but it certainly was violating. That's his privacy. And you just, because he's black, because you can, because you cannot, if Daddy in that moment was like, yo, don't touch me, and did something crazy,
they would have shot him or something. So he just stood there.
He just stood there. He just let it happen. And it happened so fast. It's not like they were examining, but they looked there.
So how the white people, they view black people as bad? Not everyone, but it's racism is a black versus white thing usually, even though there's other minorities and stuff.
Right.
Do you think that black people have also been trained to view black people as bad? Have black people been taught by white people that black people are bad?
Our media, and in terms of television, that has played a huge role in what black is, what black means, what black looks like, what black sounds like. And so often you see in movies, just regular sitcoms, it's a black man is playing that scary scene, that thug, you're not, it's one of those things. I wholeheartedly believe that black people also discriminate against each other, that psychologically something has happened, and we too, as black people, have to be super intentional about not discriminating, about not making those same assumptions and attaching those same stereotypes to each other, and allow each other to just be who we are. To just be who we are, to talk how we talk, to walk how we walk, to dress how we dress, and to not make that a negative thing. Do you know that there's in some places, my natural hair is considered like not tamed? Like, fix your hair.
Mine would be really bad.
Yeah. It's like, it's a real thing. Because what we see, the beauty of hair is hair that's flowing. The beauty of hair is hair that's long. The beauty of hair is hair that's softer.
You can run your fingers through.
That you can run your fingers through. And that's not how a lot of black hair is. And in the workplace, there's so much with that. And then what happens is black girls to each other. Oh, you got good hair. Oh, you got bad hair. What is that? We really do have to be intentional about not making the same mistakes with each other as we're so angry that white people are making with us.
So the main problem is racism, but like, remember how you were saying like in the television how they put like the black man as like the scary one? And I also feel like they put like darker skinned women as like the crazy ones or the ghetto ones. So I feel like although the main problem is racism, there's also like a sense of colorism that's not only black and white, but it's also black and black. Like, for example, all over YouTube you see like there's this challenge just like light skin versus dark skin, and even like the darkest men, with they have black moms, they have black dads, they have black sisters, black brothers, black aunties, black cousins, and they're choosing the light-skinned person, and they're making comments like, oh, dark-skinned hair is nappy, dark-skinned people are crazy, they're loud, they are aggressive, all that stuff. So, like, there's a problem with colorism, and, like, how do you feel about that, and, like, how do you think we could, like, fix that?
We just have to be intentional. We have to understand that beauty is not this narrow thing. You ever heard beauty is in the eye of the beholder?
Mm-hmm.
And literally, that's what, I can look at something and not be attracted to it, and that doesn't make it not beautiful. I can look at something and be completely attracted to it, and someone else
hates it. And
right.
That doesn't mean that's ugly.
Right. So we have to be intentional about addressing differences in preference and making this overall category of, okay, this goes in the ugly pile, this goes in the beautiful pile. Everything is beautiful because God created it all. And we really have to start to speak positively into each other. Is there anything that you would say to a young black girl? What kind of encouragement, what kind of, what would you say to a young black girl who has maybe experienced racism? Because you haven't really experienced racism, like you said. What do you think young black girls can do or need to hear?
If you're insecure because you're black or because you're a black woman, just remember that you're just as good as anybody else. But also, because of this whole racism thing, even though it's not fair, you need to understand that you need to try like 10 times harder than everybody else. And although that's not fair, that's just what we need to do. As a black person, black woman, anyone of a minority, you need to understand that we are called minorities because we're viewed as under or less than European people. And even though that's not right, that's not true, and that's not fair, that is the reality. So we need to understand that that's how life is going to be until we can come about this change and create, like, allow people to understand that everyone's equal and there's no such thing as black, white, it's just the human race. I feel like you just need to understand that you need to try harder, and although this isn't fair, it's just what we need to do, which is so sad that we need to do that. But
do what you gotta do. Don't worry about the haters, because that's what they are. Don't worry about the haters. Don't worry about the people who dwell in ignorance around you. Be fearless. Be courageous. Do not become what people are saying you are. Be who you are.
Black is beautiful.
Period.
Until next time.
Remember, you are beautiful. You are special. Your smile is amazing. And don't let anyone or anything ever make you feel less than who and what God has designed you to be. Annie's crew, you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Bye, guys. Bye for now.
Annie's Blue Couch.